The clock struck 3 in the morning. Outside, the street was quiet, the kind of silence that makes even the smallest sound echo. But inside one modest home, that silence was shattered by the pounding of fists on the door. "Police, open up!" A black woman named Angela sat upright in bed, her heart racing. She lived alone, worked hard, and was respected in her neighborhood. But now the heavy banging and the glare of flashlights through her windows made her pulse quicken with fear. Before she could reach the door, it swung open with a crash. Several white police officers stormed inside, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Angela froze, her hands raised instinctively. "What's going on? Why are you in my home?" she asked, her voice trembling. One officer snapped back. "We got a call about suspicious activity." "You fit the description." Angela's stomach dropped. She hadn't done anything wrong. She had been asleep in her own house, and yet here she was, surrounded by armed strangers in her living room. The humiliation was suffocating. Her eyes darted to the wall across from her sofa. Hanging there, barely visible in the dim light, was a dark blue jacket with 3 bold letters stitched across the back: FBI. The officers didn't notice it at first. They were too busy searching her home, knocking things over, shining flashlights into every corner. Angela clenched her fists at her sides, fighting back tears. She wanted to shout, to demand respect, but fear held her back. Finally, one officer turned and froze. His flashlight beam landed squarely on the jacket. The gold letters seemed to glow against the fabric. Guys," he stammered, nudging his partner. "Look." The room went still. Every officer stopped moving. Their eyes locked on the jacket. Slowly, they turned to Angela, their expressions shifting from suspicion to unease. Angela spoke at last, her voice steady despite the trembling inside her. "Yes, that's mine. I'm an FBI agent. And this," she gestured around the room, "is my home. The home you just broke into without a warrant." A heavy silence followed. The officer's confident posture collapsed into awkwardness. One cleared his throat. Another lowered his eyes. The tension was thick, but it was no longer Angela who felt powerless. It was them. She walked past them with measured steps, lifted the jacket from the wall and pulled it on. The 3 letters gleamed in the glow of their flashlights. "I work in federal investigations. I've spent my career upholding the law. And tonight, you've shown me how quickly assumptions can destroy trust." The lead officer swallowed hard. "Ma'am, we're sorry. We made a mistake." Angela looked him in the eye. "A mistake? You broke into my home. You terrified me. And why? Because I fit the description? Do you know how many times people who look like me hear those words?"
The officers shifted uncomfortably. For once, their authority wasn't enough to shield them from accountability. Angela could have demanded their badges. She could have shouted or thrown them out with anger. But instead, she took a slow breath and softened her tone. "I don't want revenge. I want you to understand. Every night, people live in fear of exactly what you just did. And most of them don't have a jacket on the wall to protect them when it happens." Her words hung heavy in the air. The officers knew she was right. They stood in silence, unable to argue, confronted not just by her title, but by the truth she had laid bare. Finally, Angela added, "If you want to make this right, don't just apologize to me. Change how you approach people. See us as human beings first. That's the only way the badge you wear will mean something." The lead officer nodded slowly, his face pale. "You have my word. This won't happen again." One by one, the officers filed out of her home, quieter than when they had entered. The flashing lights faded down the street, leaving Angela standing in her living room, her FBI jacket draped around her shoulders like armor. She sank into a chair, exhausted but unbroken. Tonight had shaken her, but it had also reminded her why she chose her work: to fight for fairness, to protect the innocent, to challenge injustice wherever it lived, even if it came wearing a uniform. In the days that followed, the officers did change. Word spread in their department about what happened that night, and more than one of them admitted it had been a wake-up call. They began approaching calls with more care, more respect, and less judgment. It wasn't a perfect transformation, but it was a step forward. As for Angela, she carried on with her work, holding her head high. She knew the road to equality was long, but she also knew that moments like this, moments where the truth cuts through, prejudice could plant the seeds of real change. And in the end, her story became more than just a frightening night. It became a lesson, one that echoed far beyond her quiet street. Hate divides, but kindness heals. We are all equal as human beings.